Today on Stretch Your Kitchen, it's been said, you don't know what you don't know. Well, here's one thing I know. If you want to stretch your grocery dollars and minimize food waste, it's essential to work toward building Pantry Pride, because pride in your pantry equals money in your pocket. Great meals don't start in the grocery store. They start in your own kitchen. I'm Erika, and I'm on a mission to prove that thoughtful cooking isn't about buying more, but about using better. Welcome to Stretch Your Kitchen. I want to share a little bit about my background with you. So, my parents were the embodiment of the American success story. They met and fell in love as young teenagers. They had their first child by the age of 18 and 3 by the age of 22. They both worked multiple jobs while juggling hectic schedules, a family of toddlers, and putting themselves through school. Their story inspires me. It's a story of dedication, hard work, and perseverance, and it led to extreme success in their respective careers. Well, when my mom was a late teenager and already a young mother, she worked part-time at a grocery store. This was in rural Pennsylvania during the 1960s. The store was called Pantry Pride. It was the largest supermarket chain in the Northeast at that time, and it's where all the deals could be found. I always loved that name, Pantry Pride. Here's a fun fact. I almost named this podcast Pantry Pride. But first, I did feel that it was a little too limiting for the scope of kind of everything I wanted to share. And second, I did a bit of investigating, and now it's an independently owned store with one store in Ohio. So I couldn't violate any copyrights or trademarks or anything. But Pantry Pride as a supermarket name, I think they were really onto something. Pride is defined as a feeling of deep pleasure or satisfaction derived from one's own achievements or from qualities or possessions that are widely admired. Can you recall a moment or two when you were filled with pride? I can. I've been proud of several achievements throughout the course of my life. I'm really proud of raising kind and capable and independent children to adulthood. I'm also proud of working out 2 days this week. I know that's not much, but it is huge for me because I really don't like working out, especially cardio. I just don't like it. I'm even proud of taking a risk and developing this podcast. It's pretty scary to put yourself out there, but the potential rewards outweighed the risks by a ton. This podcast is the culmination of years of asking myself why I chose to walk this path. Why minimizing food waste was so important to me. I can only hope that this podcast offers up ideas and tips and tools that will somehow support your money-saving goals and efforts to stretch your kitchen. And I'm also incredibly proud of knowing that I'm making a difference for my own family by stretching our grocery dollars and minimizing food waste. I really think pride gets a bad rap. There's a difference between pride and arrogance. I think it's important to have pride or be proud. We do deserve to celebrate ourselves. There's just nothing wrong with that. Remember, the definition of pride, again, it's satisfaction derived from one's own achievements or from qualities or possessions that are widely admired. I do believe we should all aspire to have pride in the food that we possess, the very stuff that will nourish our families. Food in many areas of the world is a luxury. It's just not readily available, and many cannot afford even the most basic and economical of ingredients. Think about it. You work so hard for your money. It doesn't always come easy, does it? To see valuable grocery dollars stretch less and less as prices rise and rise, it can really be discouraging. That's why the idea that you can stretch your kitchen is so valuable. Making the most of your grocery dollars without sacrificing quality meals, that's certainly something to take pride in. Every ingredient that you purchase or save or add to your pantry is part of a greater plan to provide nourishing, satisfying meals for you and your family.
Pantry Pride. I like it. I didn't always have it, but I certainly do now. As I mentioned in the intro to this podcast, there is one thing that I know for sure. If you want to stretch your grocery dollars and minimize food waste, it's essential to work toward building Pantry Pride, because pride in your pantry equals money in your pocket. So that brings me to today's Kitchen Quest.
The Kitchen Quest is where I tackle new topics each week to help you stretch your grocery dollars, minimize food waste, and turn what you already have on hand into delicious, flavorful meals.
Let me ask you a question. What do you have in your pantry right now? I'm sure you could answer maybe a box of spaghetti or a pack of rice or a can of beans, but what else? Do you know? You probably have a basic idea, and that's great, but the details are so important. If I were to describe a show to you as follows: people compete to survive and win $1 million, you would probably guess I'm describing Survivor. But I've left out key details about the show that I'm actually thinking of. Here are some additional details. The contestants are out in a remote, uninhabited location for a minimum of 40 to 60 days. They are skilled survivalists. They usually bring their own machete and pot. They hunt their own food. They wear no clothes. Now you can probably guess I was describing Naked and Afraid, if you watch that sort of thing. Well, details matter. They paint a clearer picture of whatever the issue is at hand. Likewise, knowing the details of what exactly is in your pantry is one of the key ways that you can stretch your grocery dollars and cook creatively with items that you have on hand. But first, you have to know what you have on hand. Every single item. And that's because every single item in your pantry has value. You can be proud of the work you put in to add even one single can of beans to your pantry. You spent money and time to procure that item. If you're like me, sometimes ingredients and supplies become buried in your pantry, and you probably have random cans that you intended to use for a recipe in the past, but you just didn't use it. Since I shop according to how many I need, I always have various canned items along with pastas and grains that I don't necessarily have a plan for, but I know that I can use them. Each item in your pantry can be used to create delicious meals. You just need to know what you have on hand. You don't know what you don't know. And you could be missing out on a delicious meal or missing the opportunity to stretch a certain protein just by overlooking a lonely random can in your pantry. Let me give you an example. Did you know that you can add 1 can of beans to 1 pound of ground beef and make almost twice as many meatballs? Plus, you're adding additional protein by adding those canned beans. I make a really delicious meatballs marinara over polenta. Oh my goodness, it's so good. I make a creamy Parmesan polenta, which is so fast and easy, and a delicious tomato and basil marinara. And I use meatballs made from ground beef and a can of beans. I just mash the beans up and combine them into the ground beef along with the seasonings and breadcrumbs, and it stretches that pound of ground beef. I can get about 20 to 24 meatballs out of that 1 pound of ground beef, and it's healthy because I'm adding an amazing protein or alternate protein in the form of beans. I'm going to add that recipe to stretchyourkitchen.com in case you'd like to try it. Even some random potato chip crumbs left in a bag can be incorporated into breadcrumbs for a crunchy topping on any casserole. No need to waste those remaining crumbs. And did you know that 1 can of tomatoes, like whole tomatoes or diced tomatoes, they can be stretched into a pasta sauce for an entire pound of pasta simply by adding a few herbs, a splash of wine, and some pasta water. If you had a few leftover lentils in a bag, they can be fried or roasted up as a crunchy salad or soup topper. What about if you had just, say, a quarter of a canister of peanuts left and any random noodles? You have the start of a tasty knockoff version of pad thai or a spicy peanut soup or nutty spaghetti. See, nutty spaghetti was a delicious, inexpensive meal that I was obsessed with back in the day. The recipe includes a pound of spaghetti, but really any pasta would do, and about a half cup of peanut butter, some chopped peanuts, some soy sauce, a little bit of brown sugar or honey, some garlic and red pepper flakes, and a little bit of pasta water. It is so easy and relatively inexpensive. It's vegetarian, but it doesn't even taste like you're missing that protein because the protein is coming in the form of all that nutty goodness. Nutty spaghetti. I'm adding that to the Stretch Your Kitchen website as well. Try it. Your family will love it. I actually haven't made nutty spaghetti in forever, but now that I mentioned it, I'm actually sort of getting a craving for it, so I might make it tonight. Probably. What about if you had some dried fruit or canned beans? You could mix those together with some seasonings and rice and create a delicious Moroccan rice feast. Speaking of canned beans, for some reason, I always have a random can of black-eyed peas on hand. Well, I know the reason. It's because it's a New Year's tradition for many people, but certainly for me as well, to serve black-eyed peas and cornbread and collard greens on New Year's Day. Well, I usually buy a few cans of black-eyed peas, but I never make them all because I actually don't like black-eyed peas. Here's the thing. There are very few things I don't like. Lima beans and black-eyed peas are two of like the 5 things I really don't like to eat. But nevertheless, I still have that can of black-eyed peas on hand. But I've figured out how to use them. I can turn that random can of black-eyed peas into a Mexican-inspired refried beans and then add them to burritos. I just combine the black-eyed peas with a little bit of onion, garlic, cumin, and smoked paprika, a little salt and pepper, and then simmer that for quite a while. Add a little chili powder and then mash. It is delicious. Problem solved. Even canned fruit or a quarter of a jar of jelly in your pantry can become a delicious sauce for pork or chicken. A couple of taco shells remaining from a meal that you previously ate can be broken up as a quick tortilla topper for a chili bake. Or break them up into larger pieces and use them as a dipper for a quick avocado and tomato salad or a guacamole. 1 can of diced chilies and a can of corn, a delicious chili corn chowder. Honestly, just about anything can become a frittata, and I mean anything. I've mentioned before that I make frittatas often, and one frittata will feed a whole family with leftovers. They are filling and economical, and a great way to use up stray pantry ingredients. I'm adding a recipe on stretchyourkitchen.com. It's what I call an anything frittata, and that's because you can literally add anything. I love an anything frittata. I hope you do too. The point is that every item counts, and every item that you have on hand can be used. Your pantry is made up of so many categories of foods, like canned foods or boxed and packaged foods, jarred sauces, soups. It also contains things like crackers, maybe some random snacks, maybe an applesauce cup or 2. You also have to realize that your pantry has spices and herbs and baking essentials like flour and baking soda and baking powder. Think outside of the cans. Flour is a pantry staple that so many people think is really just for baking, but flour is used in cooking as well. I can make an easy pasta or easy dumplings so inexpensively. You don't need a fancy pasta maker. You can just create that simple pasta dough, roll it out, and cut it. It saves money, and believe me, it cooks up so quickly and tastes so much better than a store-bought pasta. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I still do occasionally buy store-bought pasta, but I love making an easy pasta out of just a couple cups of flour and an egg. Last night, I made chicken and dumplings. I haven't made it for years. Homemade goodness with basically the use of 5 bone-in chicken thighs, and it makes enough for a crowd. We still have so much leftover chicken and dumplings. Obviously, I'll be freezing it in individual portions for a hot lunch on a cold day. Yes, we even have whole days in Hawaii from time to time. We're kind of in a cold spell right now. To make the chicken and dumplings, I put the chicken thighs in my Instant Pot. You could do this in a slow cooker. You can do it in a pot of water on the stove. And I first simmered that with some celery, carrots, and onions. And those were just going to be used to create the rich and flavorful broth. I also used some herbs in there like rosemary and sage. When the chicken was finished cooking and it simmered for an hour or two, I pulled out the chicken and I was left with this amazing broth, which became the base of the chicken and dumplings. Now that can even be done in a slow cooker in the morning before you head off to work. And when you come home, you'll have this delicious chicken broth. Once you have that broth and already cooked chicken, the rest of the meal comes together so quickly. You just add some carrots, celery, and onion into a pan with a little bit of butter. Let those saute for a few minutes and become a little bit softer. Add some flour and then add in your chicken broth, and that becomes this delicious, thick gravy. Then you add your chicken back in with some additional herbs or spices, and then make easy drop dumplings with just a little bit of flour, baking soda, baking powder, and I have a little trick. I add a little sour cream in there for tartness, some salt and pepper. Oh my goodness, they're the best drop dumplings you will ever taste. I'll add this recipe to stretchyourkitchen.com, of course, so that you can try it for yourself. And you can really use whatever you have on hand. But in order to do that, you first have to know what you have on hand. You have to have pride in every ingredient you have in your pantry. You've worked for it, so don't waste it. Study your pantry, organize it, categorize it. Take pride in every individual can or quarter pack of pasta. Each has value. Right now, I do have so many bits and pieces, a half pack of this, a fourth pack of that, a can of this, a jar of that. And that's primarily because I let nothing go to waste. I know that I can use even a quarter cup of cornmeal. So why would I throw it away? I might not be able to make an entire cornbread with it, but I can use it to dust the bottom of some homemade rolls or a homemade focaccia bread. I love making homemade bread, and it takes like 5 minutes in the morning and then 45 minutes of baking in the evening. It's not laborious at all, and it's much less expensive than store-bought bread. I still do buy bread for sandwiches from time to time, but I do love making homemade focaccias and boulets. I'm going to dedicate a future episode of Stretch Your Kitchen to the simple art of no-knead bread. I love it. Getting back to the pantry, I am actually going to inventory my pantry this afternoon. I try to do a full inventory every few months. Well, I'm going to add a list of what I have in my pantry to stretchyourkitchen.com and some ideas for what I plan to do with those items. After my inventory, I'm going to embark again on what I call Kitchen Cleanout Chronicles. See, months ago, I actually thought I was going to create a blog called the Kitchen Cleanout Chronicles because I've been doing this for years and years and years. Every few months, I take an inventory of my pantry, and then I decide that I'm going to use up everything I have on hand, or almost everything I have on hand, and see how long I can go without having to restock. I was going to actually turn it into a blog called the Kitchen Cleanout Chronicles, but I realized that I just had such a strong desire to share more than just my clean-out process, and so Stretch Your Kitchen was born in my mind. How about you try your own Kitchen Cleanout Chronicles? Maybe for 2 weeks. Try it for a month if you can. Get creative. I would love to see your homemade creations. Please share on the Stretch Your Kitchen Facebook group or Instagram page, or post your creations to your own social media and hashtag Stretch Your Kitchen. Let's work together to help stretch our grocery dollars and use what we have on hand. We can save money, minimize food waste, and create delicious meals if we just have a little bit of pantry pride. I urge you to take pride in your pantry. Those lonely ingredients are otherwise destined to a life of expiration, and your own wallet will suffer for it. So now it's time for this week's culinary concern.
The weekly culinary concern allows me the opportunity to answer your questions and share more ways to help you stretch your kitchen. If you're feeling inspired, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. Visit stretchyourkitchen.com and please follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Stretch Your Kitchen for more tips, tools, and helpful takeaways to minimize waste and maximize flavor.
So here's a question, one that I'm sure a lot of people have. I have so many odds and ends, and I don't know what to do with them. Well, hopefully, some of the ideas I've shared today will get you started. Start with an inventory, then think about what sounds like it might go together. Add a flavor profile and get creative. Let me give you an example. If you have 1/2 of a pack of spaghetti and 1 can of black beans, well, in my mind, I begin to think that black beans are usually used in like Mexican or Puerto Rican or Latin American or Venezuelan cuisines. I then think of what's one of my favorite Puerto Rican-inspired dishes, and that's arroz con pollo. It is delicious and zesty and hearty, but it's made with chicken and rice. Again, I can template that out and realize it's a starch and it's a protein, while I've got spaghetti and black beans. Maybe I have a little bit of chicken or pork or fish on hand in my freezer. Well, I can recreate the flavors of arroz con pollo, and I can create it with the spaghetti and black beans I have on hand. Maybe I'll use some lime and some sofrito, which is a puree of red pepper, cilantro, garlic, and onions. Well, I can toss that with the spaghetti and the black beans and maybe some diced chicken that I have on hand. And I've got dinner in practically no time, using what I already have on hand. If you have pantry items that you are struggling to use, please feel free to reach out on stretchyourkitchen.com. Submit your request as a culinary concern, and I will be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. I'm here for you as you begin your own kitchen cleanout chronicles in order to stretch your kitchen. So let's move on to today's Triple T takeaway.
Each week, I'll leave you with my Triple T takeaway. That's tips, tools, or tasks to begin implementing the Stretch Your Kitchen lifestyle. These simple takeaways prove that thoughtful cooking isn't about buying more, but about using better.
This week, I have a task for you. Take pride in your pantry by knowing what you know, and that's what you have on hand. Take inventory of your pantry. Think everything, cans and jars and pastas and grains, baking items, herbs, spice packs, sauces, seasoning mixes, like taco seasoning. Make an inventory. I'm including a pantry inventory sheet on stretchyourkitchen.com. Feel free to download it and make as many copies as you need to use it to inventory your pantry, or use it as an inspiration for creating your own digital inventory. And then plan on ways to use those ingredients in the future. Place your inventory sheet somewhere prominent, maybe on your refrigerator door or with the Sharpie that by now you probably are keeping on your counter. Use that inventory to see all of the possibilities that your pantry offers for creative cooking. Then commit to 1 week, just one, of doing your own version of the Kitchen Cleanout Chronicles. If 1 week works well, maybe stretch it to 2 or 3 or 4, depending on how much inventory you actually find that you have on hand. Now, you might need to purchase some proteins to round out your pantry, because a Kitchen Cleanout Chronicle doesn't mean not to shop at all. It just means to strive to use up what you have on hand. Make every ingredient count. And please share your thoughts and your creative meals with me on Facebook or Instagram, or share your creations on your own social media. And please remember to hashtag Stretch Your Kitchen so that I can get in on the fun with you. Your ideas and efforts will not only inspire you, but your friends or others who may desire to save money and use wisely. Together, we can support each other as we look for even more ways to stretch our grocery dollars, minimize food waste, and create flavorful, satisfying meals. That's all for this episode of Stretch Your Kitchen. Next week, the secrets in the sauce. I'm going to share ways that you can say goodbye to store-bought sauces and hello to flavorful feasts using simple ingredients that will help you stretch your kitchen.
Thank you for listening to Stretch Your Kitchen. If you enjoyed this episode or feel that it would be useful to someone else, please leave a review on Podchaser and follow me on Facebook or Instagram at Stretch Your Kitchen. And remember, thoughtful cooking isn't about buying more, but about using better.